Well, since it got quiet, let's start. It's time. Sorry to be slow. We have a full council, although Michelle Randall is participating by Zoom today, as she's not feeling well, and so she will participate as long as she can electronically. So let's make sure that as we begin, Jeff, there's Jeff, that we let her in. Okay, good. Thank you. So let's begin if we could today. We are pleased to have Reverend Alex Wilkie here, representing the St. George Area Interfaith Council, who will offer an invocation, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll go from there. Reverend, thank you. So good to see you again.
Our Lord and friend in this business of this hour, help us to reconcile our differences. Give to each of us a singleness of purpose, that we each may come into your presence. As people drive around this town, they see many places where the job was only less than half finished. Is that the way we wish for persons to see the city that was once so fair? For those who work for the city, may they take some pride, real pride, in what they're doing each day. Our city can't have those kinds of workers doing the work if they don't allow their pride to show forth in what they're doing. Our city, can we have these kinds of workers doing this kind of work? Now, will you bless the mayor and each council person and each one in presence this day? For we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Let's stand and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance if we could. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to have you all here. Let's see. We do have two things, kind of pre-written agenda that we would like to do today. And the first one is Austin. Where'd you go? There's no different Austin. Yeah, we got two Austins. But Austin, if you would come forward to the podium here, and have you got that poster with you, or did? Okay. Yeah, invite them to come up when you're ready.
Okay.
I'd like to have you just tell us a little bit about what you and others were doing last night.
Okay.
And actually a couple nights, but.
It has been a few nights. This is Kim and Katie here with me. Council, Mayor, thank you. I didn't expect about a week ago to be standing in front of City Council. It wasn't my intention or my plan. But for the past week or so, I have been standing on the roadside holding a sign about love, because I feel that our city, that our state, our country, and the world is divided on a lot of really important topics, but nonetheless divided, and that our humanity is slipping away. And so something that has been really important to me is to try and be the change that I would like to see. And I didn't know what to do, and so I made a sign and I stood on the sidewalk and tried to share happiness and hope with people. And I've been doing it for about a week, and these two beautiful ladies joined me a couple days ago and decided to kind of organize something more structured. And we invited members of the community to come and make a small poster sharing words of hope and of unity and of love. and we would like to present this small poster to the city, and just kind of put a message out there that even though we have right versus left and liberal versus conservative and all these sides clashing, that we can find a little bit of humanity in us and be a little kinder than we were yesterday and love a little more than we have before and forgive those who have wronged us. And that's just the message that I wanted to share.
Well, thank you, Austin. Austin caught my attention. I can't remember which night it was. Maybe, was it Friday night last week?
Friday night.
I saw you out with your sign, and as I recall, all it said on it was huge letters, LOVE. And so then I saw the next day, I think it was the next day, you were out again. And so that time I stopped, and he had his mask on, and he pulled his mask down. I recognized him because I know him from the community, and I said, "Austin, great job." So, and then you did it, several other nights, and I liked this edition. I had a chance, council, to meet with these three, Katie, Kim, and Austin, just for a few minutes before the meeting, and they're going to leave us with this, and so hopefully we'll take a picture, but hopefully we can, just put this message out. I'll share it, and maybe David will share it on the city city Facebook page. But I think it's a great message. I just appreciate you doing it. Simple, and yet powerful. So thank you. I'll come down if you will, and maybe David will take a picture of us if you're okay with that.
So, Austin, I had I had the opportunity a couple of times to pass you on the street and honk, and I had my granddaughter with me and my wife, and you were standing there on the corner, and I honked at you, and we waved, and she said, "Grandpa, what's he doing?" And I said, "He just wants everybody to get along." She thought that was pretty cool. So.
That's absolutely all we want. I tried to maintain some amount of anonymity because the message is not about me, it's not about us. It starts with individuals, but the message is so much greater, and I didn't intend to receive as much conversation or anything, but I appreciate that. Thank you. That's what
You're
my
doing a
message
good
is.
job.
All right, let's just stand right here and put that kind of front and center. How about? All right, David. We're smiling behind us. Thank you. Can you see it in our eyes? Yeah. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ken. Thanks, Katie. There's hand sanitizer over there. That's in the background. Any other comments, council? I didn't want to cut that off. Thanks, Brian, for your comments.
I saw them down there also. I live downtown, and it was really refreshing to see just a positive message. We're so used to division at this point, and that's kind of a sad commentary that we're more accustomed to division than we are to love. So thank you.
Thanks, Danielle. Okay, next. Let's see, Jimmy. I don't know who to call out on this, Jimmy and Brian. There's going to be a little event in a couple weeks on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of this month. And so we're not going to have city council on the 17th. And that day is, who knows what day that is? Your birthday. Oh, you're not supposed to remember that part. But it is Constitution Day. So, yeah, you're right. There were a lot of years I didn't know that, but when I found out, I thought, that's not a bad day to be born.
Then it was your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh.
No one told me it was my birthday. No. Anyway, we want to do a proclamation for Constitution Week, actually. And since we're not having a meeting due to the rodeo, which we're excited to be able to do this year, aren't we?
Very.
We're all going to be there. In fact, I think we're signed up to volunteer. Yeah. And I know I'll be, don't let this concern you. We'll be protected and we'll have good chaperones and stuff, but I'm going to be, I think, flipping burgers or something. So, and I can do
Mayor?
that. Yes. Who said that? Michelle.
A voice from heaven. Not everyone signed up.
Uh-oh.
So, those of you who aren't, please get a hold of me. Jimmy, Brian, Greg, Adam.
I have a hunch they'll be there to help.
Thanks.
Jimmy smiling.
I told them I was going to be wherever they needed me.
There you go. Jimmy's there every night, every year anyway, so.
Speaking of that, they will have still the truck.
Good.
I got a call,
Harry's-
and they'd like us all to be there as normal. I'm hoping he's not driving.
If he is, it could be
It'd
interesting.
be really cool. Yeah, so, and I said, well, I'm going to be working. And they said, no, we'll give you guys a break so you can make your
good.
little appearance and then go back to work.
Good.
So
So we can do the entry thing.
yes, and then go back to work. Remember, go back to work.
Okay, we won't forget. All right, well, what I'd like to do is read this proclamation, and then we'll invite up any who are here, but I know that Karen and Valerie at least are here, and there might be others, so you're sure welcome to come up, and we'll take a picture. Because the Constitution is important to all of us, and so we do want to make this, give it its proper attention. Whereas September 17th, 2020 marks the 33rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Jonathan T. Pike, Mayor of the City of St. George, and the City Council of the City of St. George, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2020, as Constitution Week in the City of St. George, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in what year? 1787. Yeah. It's good history reminders, right? By vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. So, and I've signed this. I'd like to have you come forward now, and we'll present this to you. Come and we'll face this way so everyone can see each of you. Who am I presenting this to?
How about our chairman of Constitution Week?
Oh, is it going to be you, Karen? Okay. So I'm going to, well, let's you and I hold this.
Okay.
And then we will stand here.
It took a long time to get that done.
I think.
And
Thank
we'd
you very
love to
much.
have, if there's anything that you'd like to say, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, actually, we do.
Okay.
We're never shy, right?
Okay. Well,
You want me to use the mic?
yeah, use the mic and I'll go sit down.
Okay. I won't say as much because you've already pretty well said a lot that you did on the proclamation, but just want to let them know that it was signed into law by President Dwight D. Eisenhower on August the 2nd of 1956. George W. Bush officially declared the inception of Constitution Week in 2002, and the commitment of the NSDAR, which is the Daughters of American Revolution, is to encourage study and educate the public about the Constitution, which was adopted, as you stated, in September the 17th of 1787. We are members of the Daughters of American Revolution, and it's an organization which has a very rich history. More than 930,000 women have joined the organization since it was founded on October the 11th of 1890, and it was formed to perpetuate the memory of ancestors who fought to make this country free and independent. The state of Utah began the process of becoming a state organization in 1895, just a few short years after it started, and the first chapter was accepted in January of 1897. Our own chapter, Color Country chapter, was started in April of 1997. And I'd just like to thank, we are the Daughters of American Revolution Color Country chapter, would like to thank you for this proclamation to recognize Constitution Week. Any of you in the council who do not have a pocket constitution, if you'd like one, we have some people who would like to give you one.
Do you have, well, I have a couple, so
If you have just two.
one's on my desk.
Okay, if those of you who don't have one, raise your
Ryan, you
hand,
want
and
one?
then we can get those passed to you.
Do you mind telling us what your pins represent?
Well, the ones that are the long ones are all of my ancestors who fought in the Revolutionary War, and I've been able to recognize at least 16.
That's amazing.
So anyway, that's what they're, and then the others are just different commemorative pins.
And service pins.
Yes.
So I'm going to take over at this point because this is hopefully going to be a surprise to all of you. But we are so grateful for everything that you do for us. Every time we ask for a proclamation, you're always accommodating, from the Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home Day to Wreaths Across America to everything in between, including U.S. Constitution Week, so we can say happy birthday to the mayor. But we have a little something that we want to give to you. So it's in appreciation to the City of St. George, Mayor Pike, and all council members for supporting Daughters of the American Revolution and our mission fields, which are historic preservation, patriotism, and education. And so we would like to present this to Mayor Pike and the council members. And you too, Michelle, because you're at home, right?
She'll respond here when she unmutes herself.
Yes, thank you.
David, you want to take a picture of this too? That is gorgeous. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll put this in our offices over there so we can show it off to people. Okay.
All right.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome so
You can
much.
even see our smile.
We have some bookmarks that will recognize.
Thank you.
Council, I'll pass this down so you can each see it. Let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah. Just a quick thought as we're passing those out about the Constitution, and thank you for that so much. It really goes back to what our previous speaker, Austin, was talking about. When you think about the Constitution, it wasn't necessarily just to form a strong central government, but it was really set up, we talk about the Bill of Rights, for the individual, so that individually we could live free and have our own thoughts and be safe. And that's really what it goes back to Austin's message is, we got to love each other despite our differences. And that's really what the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is all about, is we have to, as we get in our little groups and our different, corners where we want to take on a fight, is we have to remember to respect the individual rights. And that's what the Constitution's all about. So just a thought.
And Jimmy, may I just say, yesterday I watched yet again My Father's Highway. I love that.
It's a great show, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And although it was meant to be about everyone who had a father or mother, I suppose, in that project, it was really about Jimmy Hughes Sr. So that's a pretty cool documentary, isn't it? If you haven't seen it, everybody, you can find it out there. Is it still on Netflix? Do you know?
I don't know that. I have several copies in
Yeah.
every corner of the house, so I don't.
So yeah, you don't need to know if it's on. Anyway, I know it's available, and if not by any other source, through the Doc Utah folks at the university. Thank you again for being here and for all that you do. We have the easy part. Thanks for bringing these things to us. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We'll go to our agenda now, the written agenda. You don't have one? Oh, he's talking about the computer. it should, hopefully most things will come up on the computer here, Brian, too, so. Audio-visual problems. Okay, Adam, anything that's changed on our agenda? I know we've got the addendum as well.
No, that was the only thing I was going to point out, is that we do have the addendum, but otherwise everything is as was presented originally on the written agenda.
Okay, thank you. So we will begin with comments from the public. I have one that was submitted. These are ones that we require several things. First of all, you must be a resident of the city of St. George. Each speaker will be given approximately 3 minutes. Third one is to be courteous and show respect, and we'll do the same, of course. And then fourth is the comments can't be related to pending issues on the agenda or likely to be on a future agenda. So these are comments of kind of a general nature. And I do have one that was submitted tonight. Looks like, and I hope I'm reading this right, Lois and Doug Pearson. Yep. Is that correct? And looks like this is about water drainage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Has there been an issue on that recently? I'm afraid so.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I got some pictures. I'm sorry I didn't print out enough pictures.
That's okay. You can give them to Danielle and we'll pass them along. We can pass them both ways, yep.
Sorry to be a downer. Everybody's so happy and having a good time.
It's okay. We live in a real world too.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're welcome here as you
Okay,
as you are.
the first picture. Okay, first of all, we have a business up on Red Rock Road, in the old industrial park, and we get swamped with floods every single year. And if it's a big one, it's a lot of damage. If it's a little one, it's just a lot of labor for me. But it affects quite a bit of businesses over there in that area. That first picture is along the water easement that goes along our building. That's one of the inlets. Obviously, a good amount of water comes in there. And if you go to the second picture, that's another 36-inch water inlet. And all this water comes from the canyon that we're in. We take the total amount of water out of that North Canyon down that one ditch. It all flows into
Doug,
the
can you
easement.
tell us the address?
I'm at 803 Red Rock, 815 and 803 Red Rock.
Okay.
The third one is the drain for those inlets after the flood or any collective amount of water has accumulated. Obviously, you can see a bunch of trash and weeds and foam. There's no drain there. And that's pretty much any amount of rain. It'll happen like that every time. The normal drain access is the next picture. It's an 18-inch pipe. It's about 6 feet below grade. So it's destined for failure every time. I'm sorry you guys can't see the pictures. It's boring for you. But it's just imagine a big mud pit with a lot of water. Let's see. The fifth picture, that's my lower lot. We get about 6 inches of mud in there every time it floods, every year. And that swamps out about 25 tenants. They get affected by it. And if the upper lot floods out, which seems to happen every other year, that affects 10 businesses. So we got quite a bit of people this flooding affects due to lack of maintenance on this water easement. The sixth picture is the water easement filled up, and the easiest way out was behind my retaining wall, which is holding up my third building. So that's in danger of falling down as we speak. The next one's more of my retaining wall. The eighth one is me taking out the retaining wall and get it ready for a new one going up. Basically, this is due to poor engineering in that easement. If anybody goes out there and looks at it, they can see it. The two major inlets of water cannot drain out of an 18-inch underground pipe. It can get clogged with anything. This section of ditch physically affects 4 other properties. There's probably 6 or 7 businesses along there, but 4 of them really get affected by any type of rain. And the only solution for this is to concrete the whole ditch, enlarge the drains, and improve the maintenance. Please fix the ditch along Red Rock Road. Everybody will thank you for it in that area. Questions?
May I just say something?
Yep.
My son. I'm at that stage where I have to ask my son permission to speak.
Use the mic, though, would you?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We're the original, my husband and I were the original developers of the property. Our son runs the business now. In the last couple of years, I am paying every month $229.50 in drainage taxes alone. Not one time has anybody come out to this culvert to clean it out, clean it up. Doug gets people out there to look, and they make promises. Nothing's ever done. $229.50 a month just in drainage taxes. So what I would like a maintenance record for that culvert, because it is a city easement. We had nothing to say about it when we developed the property. The city put the easement in and told us how it was going to work and what we had to do. So I would like a maintenance record so I can see where my money is being spent. And I would like somebody from the city, maybe you remember the name, told us that there were plans that were already made up to concrete this culvert in, because it's a huge problem. It's not just for us. It blew out our whole 6-foot retaining wall this time and left the end of the building being undermined, and I don't know how bad it has to get before somebody does something. We're here because our attorney said we need to speak to you, give you an opportunity to make this right. And Doug and I went to, because we love St. George, we love our tenants, we love our business, and we want to give everybody opportunity to do what's right, along with all the love posters. Okay. So these are two things that I would like. I would like a maintenance record. Since this is a city culvert, it's your project. I want to see where that money has gone, and I want a copy of the plans that we keep. For 30 years now, we've been told that there are plans to concrete that in and make it right. So I'd like to actually see something.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. And we've got Cameron here who's our Public Works Director. Maybe he can speak to this, but we'll let you sit down if you would, and then he can take that spot. Jeff will clean it first, and then Cameron can speak to it. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
Not at this point. We're probably not smart enough to ask the right questions, but we'll let Cameron address, and then maybe, you can talk later with him.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a few things. So I know Wes Jenkins, Assistant Public Works Director, he's been in contact with him. I think he met with you out on site, I think.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
In reference to our plans in the industrial park, we do have some plans there. We've been working on it over the last several years, designing one year and then doing some construction work. Our ultimate plan is to try and get a large detention basin on the north side of that industrial park. If you are familiar with the Pioneer Park detention basin, in this last storm, believe it or not, it fared very well. We have a little bit of repair and stuff on it, but the water got really close to the spillway. But because of that, the NRCS has indicated to us that, hey, that in and of itself is going to help us to get some more funding to try and put a detention basin there and 3 other places. But it has been in our plan to do that. It's just very expensive to do it, and we haven't been able to get to that point to where it's too much money more than we've been collecting. Regarding the maintenance records, we do have that. I can ask our street superintendent to provide that for us. I know many times lots of people tell me, hey, you've never repaired this or never kept maintained it or anything else, and every time I bring it up to him, he goes, yeah, we have, and he has those records. I'm not saying one thing or another on that pipe or the ditch, but typically he has those records. Now, whether it's concreted in or not, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Jay Sandberg on those plans. In general, the storm, Wes kind of indicated to me what happened with their retaining wall, and I do feel very bad. I sound like an engineer, because I'm an engineer, sorry.
I'm used to dealing with all those people, so I know what you're saying.
That storm itself, it was a very large storm. We have a consultant here in town that kind of geek out a little bit. Engineering, we love to look at data and collect data and measure it. And that storm in and of itself was a very large storm, needless to say.
Like on average?
We, in some areas, 25-year to over 1,000-year storm. Just the intensity. That doesn't mean our rivers were running full. But when you start to have that much intensity in a smaller area, it starts to overwhelm pipe inlets. Smaller pipe, the large trunk lines are designed to handle a much larger area of a storm, not quite that intensity. And so our large storm drain pipe, all of them weren't running full, but we do have damage on some of the large pipe. The issue is we design our city storm drain system. We design it to a 10-year storm, the piping, and then the roadways and the drainage ways. It's supposed to handle a 100-year storm. This specific location, I'm not sure what it was designed to back in the day. I can't really speak to that ditch itself, but we do have plans to be able to improve the drainage in the industrial park, which we have been doing over the years.
Cameron, when was this installed?
I'm not sure. This pipe itself, I'm guessing that the development installed the pipe back in the day,
So that
but
was
I'm not
developed
sure.
in, what, the 70s or 80s, maybe?
Lois might know. Yeah, 30 years ago.
89.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Late 80s. All right.
Yeah, we go and clear out the pipes, the grates that make sure they flow, but the old pipe and the design and everything else, I don't even know if there would have been a drainage report back then for what it was designed to. But we do have, like I say, we have been designing different phases in the industrial park and have been installing those in the past.
Just kind of one piece at a time.
And as we're working upstream, we do have that plan for a large detention basin. You'll see that hopefully with the NRCS. Maybe we'll get some money sooner than later to be able to build that. We've been looking at some options, some locations, since the NRCS just reached out to us since this storm.
Okay, thank you. And we'll trust that Wes and any others who need to be involved can stay in contact with the Pearsons and work through some of these issues. So. Okay, thank you. And as the council knows, we've got a number of other issues, related to the storm, and you saw the pictures that the city manager sent today, a couple pictures that Cameron took earlier today over by the Ramada Inn. It's really something, isn't it? So there are a lot of things to work through, and it is tough because some of these things, like that one over by the Ramada, 36 years ago, that storm drain was installed. And so we've got some work to do to fix up. I appreciate, too, that there's been a lot of work that's been done in the last week and a half or so of cleanup, and not all the cleanup's done. There's been a lot of work to do, and Cameron and Dave Terry's Streets Department have really made a Herculean effort to do that. But just so the public knows, we're not finished yet. We realize there's still more to be done, but we've had some that have been a little bit more critical than others, and we're just trying to get back around and finish up where we need to on certain streets and hit kind of the most safety oriented problems first. Any questions, council, on this issue or any related ones right now?
No, I'll just say sometimes we don't know we have this problem until it finally rains.
Yeah.
We know how that is. It's few and far between, and then it comes all at once. So I think Cameron's visiting with them. Hopefully we can fix that. And there's other places where the same thing. We learn as we have one of these storms. And unfortunately it has to rain right in the right place sometimes to figure that out. And we do live in a desert where we filled in a lot of these washes and gullies. So we make a plan, we have a plan, and sometimes that plan isn't exactly correct. So we got to go back and fix it. So hopefully that can get done.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Jimmy, and also to add to that, the thing that's so challenging is that we can't build our infrastructure to a 1,000-year storm. We could never afford that either, and so it is really
Thought
stressful.
impact fees were bad now.
I know, but it is stressful and terrible for people when that 1,000-year storm comes and the infrastructure just doesn't have the capacity to hold it. So.
Well, and it sounds like there's more of an issue from way back when. We need to look into that and make sure that they get some sort of closure on this.
Yeah. Regulations and specs were different then too. So
It was different.
We have to just go back and see
Yeah.
what we can do to update it.
And materials even.
Can't
See what we can do to update it and figure out how to pay for it.
Can't
Yeah.
afford to keep cleaning up every year.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure council and staff as well, we probably all talk to people that have been impacted by this. We all have friends or family that have been impacted by it. I've been in a few basements and in a few yards and seen serious damage. And it's just some of that we're not going to be able to help with. We're going to do everything we can to see if there are state or federal funds available for both public and private damage. I don't know if we're going to hit those thresholds, but as I think you know, we do have on our website, we have an ability for people to submit that information, and that is happening. And Annette Johnson, our risk manager, is helping lots of people to try to know what to turn in, right, Paula? And she's very experienced in these things, and she's taking a lot of calls and a lot of frustrated people, and we understand that. We're just going to do the best we can to gather that information. We'll see what we can do about that. The governor obviously was down, a week or so ago, and we'll be updating them as to this as well. We'll do what we can, and of course we have public damage that we're going to have to figure out, how to do all these things. Not everything can be done at once, but as Cameron just illustrated. But we're going to take care of the big stuff as soon as we can. And I've talked to some really amazing people who've been incredibly patient and given this difficult time. People that you know. And, I'm sad for them, and hopefully we can all continue to pull together as they replace and rebuild. So.
Mayor, can I add, there's also been just so many people pitching in, neighbors helping neighbors, and it's just been really impressive to see, and people even, helping the city crews, so it's nice.
I was at Dan Hoop's house, and he had a whole load of students from Dixie State that came over and gutted his basement, probably several $100,000 worth of damage. It's down to the studs, and they just came out, took everything out, and I didn't detect an ounce of, anger from him, and yet this is not his fault. It's really no one's fault. But anyway, we'll try to do some things to help in any of these things that we can play a role in. And some of it is like you've just both said, some of it you can't build for. And it's just impossible to do. So we'll do the best we can in all the ways we can. Well, okay, let's go to the next item, which I believe, Adam, is our consent calendar. Council, are there any items on here that you have questions about or would want more information on?
I'd just make mention of item B and how excited we are to have them.
Oh,
I think
that's the one I was going to mention too.
It's just really fun. Thanks for your work on that, Mark. And it's good to have scooters back in
So
Southern
this is the
Utah.
Spin scooters under the name of Skinny Labs. Is that right? So Spin will be back. It's just in a more direct way than it was before. And instead of through, I forgot their names. Zagster. It's now direct with Spin. And this should, if this is approved, council, we'd probably expect the first round of Spin scooters to hit our streets when? About October?
It's September, isn't
The
it?
end of September.
26th.
End of September.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
soon. And I believe we have a representative from Spin. And frankly, if you don't have any questions, council, we won't ask her any. But I think mostly, Alex, we're just excited to have these scooters back in our community and on our streets and in the right places, of course. Any comments that you'd have, Mark or Alex?
I think, quickly from my end, good evening, and really appreciate all of the work that the city has done on the scooter program. Spin is thrilled to bring the scooters back, and as Mark mentioned, we're planning on launching on Friday, September 26th, and we are planning with a big launch event on Monday, September 28th, in partnership with the city and Dixie State. So
I plan to be there. Mark just told me about it before this meeting, so assuming we approve this, I will be there probably around noon over at Dixie State somewhere.
awesome.
That's right.
Love it.
Alex, thank you, and to your staff for working with our committee. And Danielle was part of that, I know, and Mark and others. Thanks for working through that, and we're excited. Council, any questions that you might have for Alex or Mark?
Good job.
Good job, okay. Then I would entertain a motion, if you're so inclined, regarding the consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
So close. There will be others.
Sorry.
Motion was by Jimmy and seconded by Danielle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 There's Michelle. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Adam? Item 3, I believe.
Some land use items. Wes is going to take us through these.
Wes, you got called a nice guy tonight.
I what?
You got called a nice guy.
I couldn't turn on my mic fast enough to say, he's all right.
What happened? Others would differ.
We love Wes.
Thanks.
And no more beard, Wes. I don't know when I missed that, but the beard's gone.
Yeah, I lost that battle. So item 3 is a request. It's for a public hearing and consideration of amended final subdivision plat for Rinca State subdivision by adjusting the lot line between lots 1 and 2 and vacating a portion of an associated public utility and drainage easement. New easements are being dedicated along the new lot line. So here's Rinca Estates 1 and 2. These two lots right here is 2800 South. You may not recognize it. There's a little cul-de-sac right here. Anyway, the request, they're amending their plat, shifting the lot lines this lot line right here 5 feet to the northeast, which requires them to add new add new MUE, municipal utility easement there, and vacate that portion. So basically they're amending the plat, adding that additional sewer utility easement there, and vacating that portion.
Thank you. Questions, council? Pretty straightforward. This is one that requires a public hearing, and so I will, if you don't have questions of staff, council, I will open the public hearing at this time for any who might have come to offer input or ask questions on item number 3 on our agenda. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you for your action.
Mayor, I will make a motion that we approve an amendment for a final subdivision plat for Rinca State subdivision by adjusting the lot lines between lots 1 and 2 and vacating a portion of its associated public utility and drainage easement.
Second.
The motion was made by Danielle and seconded by Brian. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Greg, say aye.
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 The motion carries
Aye.
unanimously. And there's the unanimous. Thank you, Michelle. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So this one you'll probably recognize. We actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago at the last meeting. And it is to consider an ordinance to allow a change to restrictions placed on South Bridge, which was formerly known as Boulder Creek Commons, planned development as it relates to drive-through facilities on property located east of the intersection of River Road and 1450 South. So at the last meeting, just to kind of set the stage briefly, won't go into this too much, but if you have questions, stop me and we'll talk about it. Here's the property outlined in blue. Property is zoned PDC, and as you'll recall, that when this was approved back in 2016, there was a condition placed upon it that would restrict the number of restaurant drive-throughs on the property to 3. That included this area here, but not the area north of 1450 South. And it's just to look at that concept plan that was approved back then. So at the last meeting, you asked the developer and staff to go back and take a look at maybe some standards that could be placed on this development if you were inclined to approve it. So we looked at some different standards. And this is what you saw in your packet. As we've talked about it a little bit more, we wanted to refine a couple of these just slightly. And so we're proposing these, and I'll just go through these quickly. And if you want to talk about them, let me know, and I'll slow down. So the restaurant drive-through lanes shall provide 5 stacking or queuing spaces per lane from the ordering location, and then 1 slight change, or the first building window, whichever is greater, in addition to the space for the vehicle at the window or ordering station. Number 2, drive-through stacking or queuing spaces shall not block parking spaces or loading areas on the site. 3, queuing lanes shall be a minimum of 13 feet in width. 4, a stacking queue shall not be located within 50 feet of a public intersection or public ingress point. 5, drive-through facilities shall not be placed adjacent to residential properties. And then finally, order boards shall be faced away from residential areas to the greatest extent possible. So we're simply trying to make it so that if there are going to be drive-throughs or more of drive-throughs than anticipated, there are at least some standards for those drive-throughs, so that they're making less of an impact on adjacent properties, particularly residential properties to the south. We also wanted to kind of just look at a few properties that maybe you're familiar with around town or in the area. I guess not every one of these is technically in town. This is Chick-fil-A. They have about 4 spaces, and you can see their board is right here. So they have about 4 spaces before they would start blocking these parking stalls in here. They also wrap around, so they're providing more, but where we would count them from that order board would be about 4. Another one that has a lot of traffic is In-N-Out. Their board is right about here. Their ordering board, and these two are a little bit of an oddity because they'll oftentimes have people out there taking orders. So, but we're looking at just strictly if you were to drive up to their ordering board and order something. They've got about 8 spaces before you start blocking these stalls here. Popeyes, which is right across the street from the subject property, they've got about 4 spaces, and then they start blocking as you curve into here. Fizz, that's another one that tends to get backed up. That's on River Road. That has about 3 spaces. Their order board's about here, and then you start going out into the street. McDonald's, this is the one up on Sunset. They've got really about 3 or 4, and then you start blocking these. Even less than that if you're counting these over on the west side. This is the Swig, the original Swig. I think, yeah, just down the street. They've got about 6 spaces, and then apparently you start backing out onto the street. So, again, we want to try to not do that if possible. And then a couple of others. Carl's Jr. They've got about 4 spaces. Their menu's about here, and then they've got about 4 spaces before you start blocking spaces or parking stalls. Then finally, Smashburger. This actually works fairly well. They've got a menu board in here, and then they have this all this space to queue. So they have about 8 spaces, and then they have this area where you can actually pass by. So that actually would work, decent. But those are just a few, so that you can kind of get in your mind, what does the number of spaces look like? How can you design, a site so that it doesn't create problems? That's what we're trying to come up with these design standards. I know that the applicant, I believe they were going to be here tonight, and I think that they had a couple of those that they, had some issues with, particularly with the language that we put in today. But that is the request. That is what staff has looked at with the applicant. And anyway, if you have any questions or comments, happy to go over those with you.
Council?
I guess I'll make a comment just to, so if you go back and look at like Chick-fil-A, for example, it looks like you got them in order of busyness, kind of, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So in some cases, it maybe doesn't matter how many you have stacking. I mean, it does, but even if if Chick-fil-A had 5, I'm in that line double stacked, 20 cars back.
Yeah.
Every time. That's just every day, all day.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, it's hard. I guess it's hard to design for that. Yeah, that's just commentary. I'm just, talking through this.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
In and out's the same way. I mean, there's 8 spaces, but that thing always goes back up to Best Buy. Not always, but if you go there on a Friday or a Saturday, it does.
Sure. Yep.
Which I think Greg's point is good, and it's why I'm thinking that our best way to regulate these is for them to be in PD zones so that there can be discussion, right, about each place that's coming, and maybe, I don't know if we can, discuss how those restaurants trend as far as their normal usage on drive up, but it at least creates more space for discussion. Drive-throughs can be, is this only for restaurants? I wasn't here that last time this came up, so just a question.
Yeah.
Or does this include banks as well? So it's saying you can only have 3, including banks and restaurants, or?
Yeah, when it was approved back in 2016, it was specifically for drive-through restaurants.
Drive-through restaurants.
Restaurants with drive-through, yeah.
Okay, so there could be more drive-throughs if it was a bank or something else that required a drive-through.
Or a pharmacy or
Exactly.
something.
Correct. Yep.
So pharmacy would be different.
Yep.
You're just not going to stack as much with those.
Right.
And just to be clear, this would be specific to this development. It's not a code change that would apply generally throughout the city. This would be specific to this. But they would all be required, if you were to approve it, with those standards to meet those. So.
Such an interesting thing. I think we talked about this last time a bit. I mean, there's just been so much of a, surge in, drive-ups, drive-throughs. And, COVID has made that much worse, but it was a trend already, and so it's probably something you can't ignore. You've got to deal with one way or another. What we know is we can't have some of the problems we've had even on a couple of these locations. Typically, they've taken care of them pretty darn well, but we've seen fizz, for example, spill out. It's been actually possibly even dangerous a couple times. We've heard from the neighborhood, haven't we, on that one? That's close to a few of you. But again, so we got to be able to deal with them, and I think that's what we're trying to do in this one before the problems hit. So, I don't know. Any other thoughts, council? Do you like it? Is there anything you'd like to? And we could hear from the applicant too.
Yeah, I think the applicant was going to be here if you want to speak.
But go ahead. Any comments?
I was just going to say, as I understand it, we've never put a restriction like this as far as specific number of drive-through spaces anywhere else in the city. So I guess in my mind, it makes more sense for us to regulate it at the PD level than to have this specific number. I mean, I like this regulatory language as far as, if there are drive-ups that we're sure they're going to be efficient, but then we also have the secondary oversight of the PD, which I think should help the neighbors to know that this isn't the last time that they can come forward and speak about these issues. With each space that comes in, there will be an application, for approval of that space.
Good point.
I agree with that assessment. I think that, if we see something that is going to stack crazy come in first, then maybe, we look at the next one. But if they all come in and it looks like it fits, and then I'm open to looking at that as it comes along without the restriction.
Jimmy?
How many are at Dinosaur Crossing? I'm just thinking of some examples.
Panda.
Yeah, I'm thinking of 3 at least there already, and it doesn't seem...
Panda, Swig.
Yeah,
Panda, Swig.
And...
coffee shop.
What? Neaters has a drive-through, right? So there's already 4 there.
And they could still have more in those.
And they do well. Even Panda, where it's lined up around the block, it's just they do well. So I agree. I mean, I hate to see us. We were putting a kind of arbitrary number on there. I know we were thinking along the right lines because we've seen some issues, but Danielle's right. I mean, we can look at these, make sure they work. And I don't know if 5 is the number. It seems like it's okay based on the research. I just hate to again put another arbitrary thing that says, "Ooh, 4 works right here," and it's not going to be bad.
Does the language say minimum of 5?
Let me go back. It just says It probably should say a minimum, because if they want to provide more, we don't want to say, well, you can only provide 5. But so minimum would be a good word to insert there. And I'll say I did a little bit of research on this and tried to find kind of what standards there are out there. And I saw as little as 3, which I thought was kind of minimal. But I saw as many as 10. So I don't know, there's a magic number. But if you feel like 5 isn't quite enough, that number could be adjusted, whatever you feel like.
Well, I agree with Danielle and Greg. You look at Fizz. I would never have thought they would have a line out to the road. Good for them. I'm happy for them. I mean, I live down there, and sometimes I've about hit somebody. But good for them. But we need to kind of. I don't know how you can control all of that, because you never know what's going to start. How well they're going to be going out. I mean, they've done a great job, and people are buying their drinks. So,
at this point, if there's no more comment or question for Dan, let's hear from the applicant. Are they here in person or on Zoom?
Spencer should be on Zoom.
Spencer, are you unmuted, Spencer? Can you see that, Christina?
Hello.
Spencer?
Thanks, Council, for spending a minute talking about our item here. We're really excited about this development moving forward. Grateful for all the time that and energy that staff's put into researching things and illustrating things the way that they have, and it's really helpful for us to kind of see what they have in mind. I think one thing that I'd like to point out is that, I mean, our project has an internal road system, and none of the drive-throughs are going to have a direct access that is right onto any of those roads, which is a good benefit for everybody to pacify concerns about whether or not things will be backing out onto the street. And that's obviously a safety concern that, we would share as well. And so from that standpoint, I just wanted to point out that the way that our project is laid out so far, it has an internal road system. So, there will be those private roads to provide the additional benefit for getting traffic off of the main roads and causing potential safety concerns. And with that being said, I mean, I think that for the most part, we can work within these standards, and grateful that, we were able to come to a resolution on this issue. And I don't have too much to add other than I think 5 is something that we could design around with what our current pad sizes are. And, just maybe having the option in the event that there is a need for any of the projects as they come in through that PDC process, to be able to have a little bit of leeway in the sense that if there's a certain standard that they can't meet, they would be able to bring it in front of Planning Commission and Council and discuss, what they're doing to try to alleviate any concerns that the standards are trying to represent, and they can discuss that with you guys in the event there is another option that they'd like to present, so that they're showcasing that they're still being safe, meeting the intent of these standards, just in the event that there's some design conflicts that they may be working through, whether it's where the sewer lines are running and they don't want to have their drive-through conflicting with where those sewer lines are, and that kind of thing. So just being sensitive to all the different issues that you have to work within for development and engineering. That's just one thing that we'd like to add to this, so that they can bring their case to you guys, showcase what they're doing, and have a little bit of leeway in the event that there's one of these standards that are preventing them from being able to put something together. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, we appreciate all the staff and the council spending time with us and the hard work that's gone into it.
Thank you, Spencer. Questions, council? Council, do you feel like you have enough information that you could make a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we allow a change to restrictions placed in the South Bridge FK Boulder Creek Commons plan development as it relates to drive-through facilities on property located east of the intersection of River Road and 1450 South. And I'll make we want to make the adjustment that it says minimum 5 stacking as well.
And is there a number, a maximum number of drive-throughs that we're saying as well, or is that, we're not? Okay. We're just saying if they can meet those, then they should be good. Okay.
Yeah, so moved.
So there's the motion by Greg. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Danielle this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to the applicant and staff for working together on this. I think that's a good outcome.
Thank you.
All right, Wes, number 5, right?
Yes. Let's see. Okay. Item 5 is a request to consider approval of the preliminary plat for Desert Canyons Town Center West Commercial, a 5-lot commercial subdivision located at the intersection of Desert Canyons Parkway and Desert Resort Court. Let's see, zoning is C2, and the representative is Development Solutions Group, Ken Miller and Kurt Gordon. So it's on this north side of the parkway here, Southern Parkway, and again, there's your little aerial view here. So this is a subdivision. It's a 5-lot subdivision. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here would be Desert Canyons Parkway, Southern Parkway here. They are going to, proposal is to phase this, so lot 105, 101, and 102 would be the first phase, lot 104 and 103 being the second phase. The city is looking at working out an agreement with them to purchase lot 102 for a future fire station right there at that lot. So let me just look at the items on this one. So there is a future trail that would come along the Fort Pierce Wash here on the south side. So they have provided right now just a 15-foot trail easement to allow for that trail to go through there, as that's about where it would be in the future. We'll have to work with them as we go through the construction drawings. Let's see, they also do, here's the floodplain line right here, so they are outside of the floodplain. They will need to do an erosion hazard study because some of the property does lie within the erosion hazard area of the Fort Pierce Wash, so they'll be required to provide that. The other change that's from the preliminary plat that was shown in the packet is this road is now being widened to a 66-foot road. With the uncertainty, this road originally, if you look at the traffic study took into account exit 5. With the uncertainty with exit 5, we felt like, hey, this may never happen. This really becomes more of a frontage road linking over to Southern Hills over here to the west and Desert Canyons Parkway here. So what we've agreed to do is build and dedicate this, since this is phase 1 here, build and dedicate this road right here, Town Center West Drive, as a 66-foot through these 2 lots here, and then obviously they would develop this frontage along the fire station here, and then and so they would only dedicate to what they're required to improve here. So only this portion would be dedicated as a 66-foot lot. It's 104 and 105 in phase 2. If they develop, hopefully by that time we determined whether this the exit 5 will come in or not. And so that's what their request was. Yeah, we'll dedicate this right now. With the uncertainty, let's wait and see what happens, because if exit 5, then this could probably go back to just more of a commercial local road, which would be a 60-foot road. So for now, this would be the only portion that's a 66 right there.
Seems like that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm still betting that exit 5 will happen at some point, but
that's what they're hoping, and
Yep.
so that's why we've agreed to that. Let's do it here because it works better for the intersection. A little wider intersection allows for additional turning movements. But then as we head to the west, let's see how it plays out as far as exit 5 goes.
Makes sense to me. Council, do you have questions for Wes on this?
I'm just curious, Wes, do we have a timeline on when this will be connected through to Southern Hills? An idea?
Probably sooner than later. I mean, Brett Burgess came to our planning staff this week talking about possible development along 3000, just above where just to the north of where exit 5 would be. If that comes in, you'd probably see that would need to come over and extend over and provide access for their development as a second access over besides White Dome Drive. So it just kind of depends as those parcels develop over there.
I'm just curious because it's already a dirt road,
Yeah.
right? So it's already being heavily used and causing a lot of dust.
Right, yeah.
Good question, Danielle. I remember that with, what's it called out by you, Jimmy? Segmiller, when it was a dirt road and people started using it, including me, to take their kids to George Washington Academy. So we ended up doing a quick chip and seal job out there, and it kept the dust down. So, yeah. Okay. Other questions?
No, but one thing I want to say about these developers is one thing that they've really gifted to our city is some really amazing mountain bike trails out there that are just open to the public, and they're great beginner trails, which we didn't have a lot of, so they're heavily used and a lot of fun.
That's the kind of trail I need. Yep, they do. They look good. They're pretty popular already, aren't they? Great advantage for those communities.
And the first time I went on it with my 12-year-old son, he said, "This is a beginner trail?"
All right, council, any other discussion needed or ready for a motion if you're so inclined?
I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for Desert Canyons Town Center, West Commercial.
Second.
Motion was made by Jimmy and seconded by Danielle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Michelle. And we'll go on to item 6. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, this is a request to consider a conditional use permit to operate a bar establishment in the Arts District Overlay Zone located at 61 West St. George Boulevard. So this is the location in our Arts District. It's part of the City View project, so it'll be down on that ground floor there. There are currently 2 bars that exist in the Arts District. One is Wood Ash and Rye here at this star, and the other is Station 2 Bar by Zion Brewery here. So the proposal is the triangle there. So this is where it's located within City View. There's the Avenir Hotel there at the corner. And then there's the front facade from across the street and then walking along the street. So they're proposing to have a 37-foot bar, some communal seating, and a cool design inside with the theme of hive, some good sound, things across looking like a hive. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, what I'd like to do, if the applicant is here, I'd like to hear just a few words from him in terms of what kind of their plans are. Is that okay? Cameron? And then afterwards, any questions that we have, council, be happy to have you ask those. And I'd also like to just have a few comments from our attorney, Paula, and so we'll go to that point and kind of go through things. Cameron and Kelly, welcome. Will you just state your names, full names for the record?
Cameron Payne.
And Kelly Payne.
Thank you. So, can you just tell us a little bit about the nature of the hive? Is that what it's going to be called?
Yep, Hive 435.
Okay.
We wanted to have a downtown bar I know that the city was planning on having 4 of them in that area. We wanted to do all local products, so we would use all the local beers around the area, including Salt Lake and whatnot. And also local wines from IG, and also Dave Moody out at Silver Reef. Yeah. And kind of make it a local event, and for kind of an upscale clientele, since the Avenir is right there. We're trying to draw a fun but upscale clientele. So, and I don't know, upscale bar food, kind of fun to hang out. And the reason we wanted to do communal seating, and this was before COVID, is we wanted everybody to kind of sit together, chat together, make new friends, and kind of like feed off the vibe of St. George. And so that's kind of what we thought the way we would seat that.
Very good. Council, do you have questions for Cameron?
I have a couple.
Voice from
First,
above.
Yeah, from heaven. Tell me what upscale bar food is first, and then second, do you plan on having any patio seating out the back?
Upscale bar food, we're planning on a few different types of things. Even at Twisted Noodle, because I am Twisted Noodle, I'm always changing things, reinventing things. We do 2 specials a day. So even when I do this, I always get bored and kind of change things. But bruschettas and burgers that are a little bit more on the upscale, craft burgers, tacos, stuff like that, that we kind of already been testing out at Twisted Noodle, and we kind of already have a really good reputation around the city, and we kind of just want to bring that into a more of a nightlife type of thing. And then I can't remember the second question.
Oh, patio seating. There won't be any patio seating.
Yeah, there's not patio seating.
Thank you. Anything else, Michelle? Okay. We'll go to Greg. Greg looked like he had a question.
Well, I just had a question about the food as well. Just wondering, like there's a place I frequent in Salt Lake a lot. I think it's considered a bar. It's Red Rock. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Rock,
yeah.
Brewery?
Yeah.
Great food.
Yeah, but I go for the food, and they also make root beer, so so I go for the root beer. And so I was just seeing if, do you envision that type of atmosphere? Like someone could go, I'm not looking for a drink per se, but I want to go get some food, and it's a place I can hang out. I mean, is that?
That is definitely what we're aiming for.
Okay.
And I love Red Rock, but with it being a bar, it is going to be 21 and over.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to use actually root beer from Dave
Silver
Moody,
Reef,
from
yeah.
Silver Reef. So he actually does a really good root beer. So we do want to bring in a fun atmosphere at the same time. We want to have live music, but we don't want anything like crazy where it takes away. But we want it to be community friendly and fun to go visit.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Tell me about the parking. Is there enough parking for where this is located? And there's been several residents that have voiced concerns about, having 3 bars right there. We started as a historic district, then went to an arts district, and now the last thing we want it to be known as is a bar district. So tell me how you'll monitor that so that it doesn't, we don't want anything like the bar to the east of you clear down the boulevard.
And I'll be honest, I don't want anything to do that with that as well. I've been in there twice, and that wasn't more than enough for me. So, and I travel a lot. My wife's a flight attendant. We go out and we have a fun time in different areas. And so we just want to bring that synergy to downtown. As far as the parking, there's a huge 3 or 4 story parking garage right behind the building itself. And then over where I'm at Twisted Noodle, there's another 4-story parking garage there that actually doesn't even get utilized that much. Generally, when we have big events downtown, it gets filled up, but I don't even think the 3rd and 4th floor ever really get touched. So as far as parking, I don't think that'd be a problem. I know St. George isn't really, they're not known for using parking garages because there's not a lot of them in the area. But I think eventually, with the growth of everything, there's going to be more parking garages that are going to be built up. As for a bar downtown, again, we want it to be in a adult place to go. There's enough places where families can go. You can bring your kids. I have a 10-year-old, so we can, take her to things. But there's not a lot of places as an adult where you can hang out with adults. And even though I love my kid, I don't love to always have my kid. But I like to go out and socialize with other adults, and I don't want to see other people's kids in certain areas. And this is kind of like that too, like where you can leave the kids with the babysitter, come hang out, listen to live music, eat some great food, and make some new friends.
Thank you, Cameron. Anything else, Michelle?
Not right. Well, I don't know if this is the time for that or not, but a couple of weeks ago we approved 6, and I want to discuss that because I just wasn't obviously paying close enough attention. I thought that alcohol licenses that we were talking about were permitted in case a restaurant wanted to go down there. I think the Arts District is way too small for 6 bars, so I want to go back and look at that, or have staff look at that also.
We can do that depending on what the council wants to do. We can certainly have that discussion, Michelle. It's always the council's prerogative. So good comments. Let's see. I think, is there anything else you'd say, Cameron or Kelly, at this point?
I don't think so.
Can I just ask what your operating hours would be?
It would, ideally, we're looking at 11. I can't remember where we're down, but I'm thinking like a noon to 10 Monday through Thursday, and then going till midnight on Fridays and Saturdays, and then Sunday being 10 o'clock as well. So I think last call's 10, and then everybody can have an hour to finish their drink or food and then leave. So
thank you. Okay, we'll let you sit down if you are okay, and then what I'd like to do is hear from Paula. I just mostly in terms of that, and I think it's been alluded to mostly in terms of meeting the requirements, in terms of parking, distances, so forth.
Right. So the main thing to remember is this is a conditional use permit. It's already allowed in our ordinance. So with a conditional use permit, you have to look at all of those things under the conditional use section, which is listed in the report if you've looked at that report. So parking obviously is one of the issues. And you're looking at what's having an impact on that neighborhood, what kind of negative impact it would be, and is there any way to mitigate those negative impacts. Staff had looked at this, they've looked at the parking issues, they've looked at the flow of the traffic, they've looked at the impact on the neighborhoods, and they feel like that it does meet all of those requirements, and that actually there are no special conditions that need to be imposed on this one. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. And so that's what you're looking for, is does it legally meet those requirements? Or if there is still an issue, what can we do to mitigate that issue? In this case, it's really no different from what I've seen than the one that's in the hotel, Wood Ash.
Yeah, the
Avondale, yes.
But the Wood Ash Rye. Yeah.
Right. So it would have a very similar impact. Being inside another building, you don't have all the landscape issues or the design issues that you might have in a standalone property. So where it's inside, that really does limit the type of issues that you're likely to have with this. So they do meet those minimum requirements.
Thank you. Any questions or comments or discussion, council?
I have one more concern that the parking in the garage area. I know they were having some issues with tenants from the apartments being able to park in that garage because it was full all the time. I would like to find out if we're having those issues still.
I don't think that's ever been full. I think it was before they'd finished the top level or two. Is that your recollection, Adam? Or other
I
staff?
just want to,
I was looking for John. Any insights as to their parking? Garage is fully inspected, approved, and open.
Yeah, so all the floors have been, they have a occupancy permit. There were some issues on the upper floors. The first, I think 2 or 3 levels or 2 levels are designated to the hotel and the commercial. And then once you get beyond those designated ones, they're for the apartments. So the upper levels are for the apartments for the 2 buildings.
Any other discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment as well. So I've heard from a lot of residents about this topic coming up for City Council, and one thing that's been brought up quite a bit is just the amount of bars or establishments in the area. So we have 4 currently just right on that corner. So I think when Michelle makes a point about maybe we should look at that ordinance on how many we allow in the area, we should we should look at that at some point.
We don't have 4.
Well,
We have 2.
I guess we have 2 bars and then 4 establishments that serve alcoholic beverages.
Right.
So that's
Restaurants.
Restaurants, which, yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so I think it is worthy of taking a look at that. Maybe it's not at this time, just.
Yeah, that would have to be brought up at a separate meeting, but we can sure do that if you'd like to.
Yes, we can, and I hope we do. I think this goes, let me just preface this with, and sorry, Michelle, you have to put up with me talking and making the meeting longer. It's okay for us to take a step back and look at our overall community values. And I might be the prude one here for today for a change, but we have to look at that in this area. And some of these residents, and there's some here tonight, and I know it's not a public hearing, but this isn't a Utah thing. First of all, I want to preface with that. You can get on the internet and you can search a map and look at dry counties. It's actually more in the east and the south where there are places where there are counties where you can't even buy alcohol. It's called a dry county. So this is not a new concept about regulating alcohol and alcohol consumption. To some people, there's a real danger in alcohol and the way it's used. Now, I know people that can drink responsibly. I have no problem with that. And I don't, on the council here, I don't know that we have ever denied one of these, what do we call them, local consents. Most of them we've given. So I know we can get a drink in St. George. The question becomes downtown, what are we striving to do? As Greg said, I think it was Greg, is this the downtown, or maybe it was Michelle, is this the bar district? I don't know. Is that where we're headed by saying we're going to just have bars, upscale or not? And thank you for Twisted Noodle, by the way. Love the place. Great job. So I know you know how to run a great place. I'm not saying that. We have to take a step back and say, as we try to accommodate all those who are coming to our community, has it affected us in the past? Do we have to conform to what every place else is doing? And is this what we want in our downtown area as far as making a bar district, if that's what we're doing? That goes back to the previous conversation about taking a look at that ordinance. How many are we going to want down there and where and how far apart? And how do we do that? If we want to invite families down there, are there families that are going to avoid the area because it's a bar district? That's a legitimate question. Back to my original point. This is not a new concept about regulating alcohol and alcohol consumptions. Again, just to pontificate a little bit, if you know how many alcohol deaths are there in Utah in a year, alcohol related, look it up, 700. Okay, we've shut down our economy over about 400 with the current pandemic. So I'm just a voice of warning here to say, I'm okay with people who want to drink responsibly. I have friends that do. I associate with them. That's not the issue. I think this gentleman and his partner, they're upstanding. They want to run an upscale establishment. I don't have a problem with that. But it's okay for us to have that discussion about downtown and where we're heading. And we don't, it's not, I get a little put off when people say, oh, it's a Utah thing. It's not a Utah thing. This has been something that's been part of our country for a long time. And there's legitimate concerns over alcohol consumption. I can tell you, I'm in the death business. Let's be frank. You know, just this week, I witnessed a horrific alcohol-related death. It's something that we should be concerned about, and it's okay for us as a council to be a little bit standoffish when we see these things, and to say, hey, is this really what we're going for in our community or in our downtown area? And how many do we allow? And what types, you know, as far as when we talk about the upscale. I know Michelle's not talking about the one down there, but we could talk to the police department, and we know what happens there and how many calls they get there. Everybody in the community knows that. So, again, I have mixed feelings on this, because I know we have a great businessman who knows how to run a class act establishment. I want the downtown to be successful. We want that project to be successful. But it's okay to remember where we came from and how many people are coming here, and it hasn't stopped them yet. And maybe that's why they're coming here, because, you know, we're a little weird. We're different. So, anyways, that's my take on it. Amen.
Okay, there you go.
Portland already claimed weird, Jimmy. We can't be weird.
Yeah, that's true. Let's not go to Portland.
We can't use that. You know, this is a really challenging space to market. And I personally, I totally agree with everything you're saying and everything that I've heard so far. And I do think we should definitely have that discussion. We do not want this to be saturated with one type of business. But I do think that personally, I think that in this location that's challenging to market, that requires people to have it be a destination, it's not a drive up in front, like I noticed, and, you know, walk in type of place. It's like you're making it a point to go there because it doesn't have parking in front. It's not super visible. I drove by again today just to remind myself, you know, and it's not super easy to see in, especially when you're driving by, even walking by, it's not super easy to see in. It's a challenging place to put a business. So I think a business like this that's offering upscale, you know, services to adults that are going to walk there, and it's an easy spot to get an Uber. Like I said, an easy spot to, you know, walk to, but you've got to walk to it. You can't drop off in front. As far as this kind of establishment, it seems like a pretty good location to me, and I really appreciate these folks that run the Twisted Noodle. They've already shown our community the Twisted Noodle's in a challenging location.
It's a destination restaurant.
It's a destination restaurant.
Come seek us out because it's
Right.
not a good location.
Right. When you guys opened, I was so worried, you know,
Me
and
too.
I thought, I don't know how they're going to make it work back there because it's not easy to see or easy to get to. And I think this will be the same thing. I mean, it's going to really require you marketing it. So, and I understand with the CUP, the language is it shall be granted. So we can continue, you know, discussing, but I just wanted to bring that point up about the, you know, the space itself.
Thanks, Danielle. Any other comments? Or otherwise, I mean, you can make a motion at any time.
I'll just add the comment. I just want to add one more comment. I just want to reiterate what both of you said. I agree with Jimmy 100%. And Danielle, I agree with you as well on this. It is not an easy spot. And we have an operator that has proven that they care about downtown St. George. They can make a spot like that work. And so we got a great operator. I have my concerns about I think we definitely need to talk about the amount that we allow down there. But in this case, I think we do have a good operator for this there, and for that space, I think it works.
Thanks, Greg. Anyone ready to make a motion one way or the other?
I will, but I keep losing my computer.
That's been a problem tonight for a few of us.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve with the findings the application for a conditional use permit to operate a bar establishment in the Arts District Overlay Zone located at 61 West St. George Boulevard.
You have a motion by Danielle. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Brian. Any discussion on the motion?
Can I bring up one Oh, this is not on the motion, so I guess it's past time for discussion.
Should be on the motion.
All right, I don't have it.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed to the motion, say nay.
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 Motion carries 3-2. Thank you, everybody. And Cameron and Kelly, we look forward to you being successful, and we believe you will honor basically the commitments you've made. So thank you. Okay, I don't have any appointments to boards or commissions today, but we do have another item that was on the addendum, as Adam mentioned. So we'll go to that item, number 1 on the addendum, and this is consideration of a resolution supporting the preferred alternative for the Northern Corridor. Is anyone speaking to this directly? Adam, are you going to speak to it, or are we just... I'll just put it out there, folks. I think we all know something, I hope we do, about what's being proposed in terms of the Northern Corridor. And we might have different opinions on it. I think we probably do on the council, and that's okay too. But this was something, as you know, we're within the comment period with the BLM regarding a preferred alternative, and there have been several identified as alternatives, and the one that has basically been said to be preferred by Jimmy, the DTEC or the MPO that we're on, and who else? Michelle's on that, I think, as well, and the county, and at least those of us that have been involved in those levels. We are just simply putting before the council, if you're so inclined, to pass a resolution saying that we support the preferred alternative regarding the renewal of the Washington County Desert Tortoise incidental take permit and the issuance of a right-of-way for the Northern Corridor. So any discussion that you would like to have about this, and then, a motion, again, either way. Danielle?
Sure. Mayor, I talked to you about this before,
Yep.
but I just want to say I am fully aware that there is a need for an efficient roadway running east to west. I just personally am not prepared to support the UDOT preferred route. I still, looking at all the data that they've put out, I'm still concerned that we're not choosing the most cost-efficient and best route for not only our city and our residents and our county, but for our flora and fauna and all of the things that we have responsibility for, and maintaining the beauty and integrity of our wild spaces. And like I said, I do understand that we need connectivity. I'm just still concerned that this is not the best route. That being said, I know I'm in the minority of that, and so just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And Danielle, we're, again, this is on all items. We're not going to all think the same, and that's okay.
Right, and I actually agree with Danielle a little bit in that because of all the compromise we've tried to make, we probably brought the route too far to the south. It needed to be further to the north to make it more adequate for what we needed. But in the interest of trying to compromise with some of the reserve, they've come up with an alternative route that hopefully is more amiable. I guess I've been around long enough to know about the previous agreements that were made, about the idea of the Northern Corridor. I know there's some disagreement on that, but absolutely doesn't hold water in my mind. We've had congressional hearings and so forth on this item.
Even one here.
Yeah, one here locally, which was unprecedented, which was kind of cool to be a part of, and see how that works, sometimes inefficiently. I don't, and I know I have some very dear friends and people in my neighborhood, and like Danielle said, that like to recreate there and have some issues, but I'll go back to my standby statement. There's a lot of places around here that I've had a lot of fun on that now have homes on, where a lot of people have come here and moved and live here, and we have to make adequate transportation routes available, and this one has been on the drawing boards for a long, long time. So although it doesn't make me real popular with some of those friends, and then they've even, in the last election, I had some say, well, despite your support of the Northern Corridor, we still might vote for you. So I guess that's an endorsement. Right. So I know there's some issues in that way, and we do have a lot of beautiful areas around here. But I think we're going to be okay. On a side note, there can be some real benefit to the turtles in the form of a fire break, which we've seen this year. Most of the turtles' deaths have been due to fire. So
it's true.
That's true. That's you can fact check me. It's not fake news. That's true, and I think we could do that. So those turtles that I had a hand in bringing here
Thanks, Jimmy.
are going to be better off.
Jimmy, that's like calling our hogs pigs.
That's
You
right.
Call them
That's
tortoises.
Right. That's right. Tortoise. Is it tortoises or tortoise? Tortai. Yeah. Anyways, that's why I'm fully in support of this resolution. And if anybody has comments, I'll wait. Otherwise, I'm ready to make a motion.
Any other comments before Jimmy makes a motion?
I can make a motion, or not a motion, sorry, but a comment. Just a comment on the incidental take permit that we've been working on. So I sit on this that board.
Thank you for sitting on that.
Sure. Southern Utah has done a really good job of managing the turtle population, meaning doing everything they can to preserve it and take care of things in a good way. They gave us, I can't remember the exact number that you can, on the incidental take permit of tortoise deaths that can happen due to population or what's the word I'm looking for, improvements to the community, and they've done a really good job of managing that. And so we've done a lot of good things, and I just want to make that comment that it's been managed well.
I think it has. The other thing is, this goes along with, I think you all know, the proposal would include a new Zone 6 over on the west side of town. And frankly, that's going to make us, if this happens, a little unpopular with some other people, because that will preclude those of us who have been there on our motorcycles or ATVs from doing so in the future, except on the one road going through it, is my understanding. And so, there's some pros and cons to multiple people. And what they have found, my understanding, Greg, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but even though it's not in the current reserve, is that they found a large number of tortoises, whatever, in the Zone 6 area. And the interesting thing, and I don't know all the reasons for that, but the interesting about that is there's a lot of heavy use out there of humans. So I don't know, somehow we ought to be able to make a way, no matter what happens, to be able to coexist, in these areas, as Danielle mentioned, flora, fauna, animals of various types, including humans. So anyway, it's a balancing act. I know we all agree with that part. Yeah. And so any other comments? Thank you, Greg, again. Appreciate your perspective in being a part of the habitat. Brian, Michelle?
Well, Zone 6 is fantastic. So, of course, in my ideal world, which we don't live in, we'd have Zone 6 and
the northern area, and we preserve all of it. But I get it. Which, don't hate me for this, Danielle, but I made it clear to the state wildlife people that they don't get zone 6 unless we get the road. Because I do think you gotta do a little bit of horse trading.
Yeah.
And so, I do think it's important. We have great wild places. We have great recreational places, and it's part of our brand. I don't want to mess that up. I hope none of us want to mess that up. I don't think we do. But some of us are going to have a little different opinions on how we do it. That's understandable. So,
No, you're right, Mayor. And, even as a redneck rancher, I enjoy the flora, the fauna, the wildlife. I mean, I'm not lost on that. And we consider ourselves as a ranching family as the original environmentalists. I mean, we really care about the land and what's on it. We hate to see erosion. We hate to see destruction of wildlife even. I mean, I've told the story before of pumping water on the ranch, and I became frustrated that this was a futile effort because all night long the wildlife was streaming in there to get a drink because there was no other place for it. There would be no wildlife on the Arizona Strip if it wasn't for ranchers making sure there was water. Today it's a different story because there's a lot of money involved in wildlife, but look, we all enjoy that, and like the mayor said, we have different ways of how we think we should preserve and promote and enjoy that, but I do. Don't think I don't enjoy it. I even like going up here and in the reserve and spending some time there. So
It's gorgeous.
Yep, it really is.
it is, and I know Danielle went there recently, and that probably brought it all to mind in a very strong way.
Cried a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So that's
we used
it.
to go up there and get turkey eggs.
Yeah.
The reject turkey eggs. So, yep.
Up Turkey Farm Road.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready. I'll
Okay.
go ahead and make a motion that we support that we approve the resolution supporting the preferred alternative for the northern corridor.
Second.
I have a motion by Jimmy with a second by Brian. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Greg, say aye, and anyone that says nay, just go ahead and say nay at the time. So go ahead, Greg.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the discussion. The motion carries on a 4-1 vote. And again, thank you for expressing your opinions, each of you that did. All right. I'm going to suggest, if you're so inclined, council, that we move to a closed session for a potential property sale. If you're so inclined, we'll try to make this as brief as we can, and Michelle will join us by Zoom.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Danielle with a second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Danielle, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned to a closed meeting. Thank you. Appreciate everyone being here.